All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Haddox. I'm going to be your teacher for today. I'm not sure what the time period is going to be, but today's lesson is going to be exploring universal grammar, which is it's a method in which you can view the patterns in different languages without actually knowing some of the words, just because there's a sentence structure to most languages. Typically, it involves the subject, object, and verb of the sentence. At least that's what my research towards the stuff suggested. Oops. All right. What is universal grammar? So universal grammar is the idea that all humans, when they're born, have the ability to learn language. It's something that people are innately good at, and especially when you are that plastic, when you are that young and impressionable. This is what typically makes languages share common rules. Not all of the time, but sentence structure, sentence patterns, word order, all of those things are shared to more or less, but the concepts are shared, not the exact rules per language. Some words can be really long, some words can be phonetically based. There are molds to be broken, especially with languages that are not in the same letter system, like Japanese. I have a couple of Japanese examples coming up. Um, Key vocabulary for this lesson is going to be grammar, which is just the rules and conventions for language in general, language and writing. Sentence structure, which is where you place the subject, object, verb, and in more complex sentences, adjective, adverbs, other stuff like that. Um, Sentence pattern, and the order that words appear in the sentence. And that's mostly what we're going to be taking a look at today during the lesson. All right. Why does universal grammar matter for English learners? English learners can transfer knowledge of sentence patterns from their home language. So if they're more well versed in that language, especially something similar like Spanish and German, they both have a similar sentence structure. I believe it's subject, verb, object in all three of those typically, but there are some outliers, of course. Universal grammar is also helpful for explaining to those students why some English patterns feel familiar or unfamiliar. And as a result, the unfamiliar ones can be a little more challenging for those kids. Uh, and universal grammar matters for English learners because it can help teachers scaffold instruction effectively. It's a bridge between what they know and what they can learn. It really helps get people out of their ZPD, or zone of proximal development. I struggle saying that word. Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. No, no, whoops. And now on to my language acquisition mini teach. For my first part of this assignment, the lesson, I wanted you guys to identify objects, verbs, and subjects in English sentences, recognize similar sentence structures in other languages, and apply universal grammar principles to basic sentence building. I have a couple diagrams down here, and we're not going to be using any branching path diagrams today, but it's an effective tool for understanding that you can use different words at different points, especially in English. It's not always cut and dry the order that you need to say things in, but it can definitely help improve your communication skills, like whether or not X student can understand you because you talk in a different order than them, you know? So the student engagement I have planned for today is uh, basically going to be multiple renditions of this activity. But we have the sentence here, the dog chased the ball. And I'm going to ask a few questions. If you guys could answer, that would be great. How do we think this could be written in a different language? What kind of language do you think it could be written in? Does it need to be a real language? I'll give you a few seconds to answer. And second of all, in English, it's typical to follow a subject, verb, and then finally object sentence structure. Um, is that something that you've noticed in sentences that you use? Is that something, if you speak another language or have another home language, is it something that you've noticed different? Um, because it really can affect the understanding that you bring to each of these different language classes. And I went ahead and highlighted, this is going to stay consistent throughout the entire presentation. The subject is always going to be green. The verb is always going to be orange. And the object of the verb is always going to be blue. All right, now I'm going to have you guys take a look at a couple different languages. I'm sorry, three actually. I am not a master language speaker. I went ahead and Google translated these. So if any of you guys are more familiar, I'm sorry if they're incorrect. But first of all, we have el perro persiguió la pelota. And these are just translations of that last sentence. The dog chased the ball. I'm definitely gonna butcher the Japanese one, but I believe it is Inua Boru o Oikaikata. Um, and then German, we have Der Hund jagte den Ball. I'm sure that those last two weren't absolutely accurate, but as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see it immediately, but pero, you got to roll that R there. But pero and hund, I believe those are both the translations for dog in German and Spanish, respectively. And I'm not 100% sure about Japanese. I believe it's inua, those two sounds together. And that means that all three of these have put the subject at the front of the sentence. So that's really nice. We can immediately say, all right, pero, hund, and inua are all your subject. And on this next slide, I'm going to have highlighted them. So if you guys could guess which ones are your subject and object, that would be really great. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to answer that, or a few moments. All right. And here we have it. So I titled this slide SVO or OSV, and that's referring to subject, verb, object, or object, subject, verb. It's real fun to say that a bunch of times. But as you can see, there are extra words. I'm not sure how else to say it, but el, la, der, and den is basically the and the again, but referring to an object, not referring to your subject. So the dog chased the ball would be the English translation for these. But as you can see in Japanese, they don't have any erroneous words. Their sentence structure is a little bit different than most other countries. But as I said, our subjects are all in the first one. It's going to be pero, inua, and hund. Then our uh, verbs are going to be in the second position for both Spanish as well as German, and also English. Remember, back to that slide. And then the blue word, if we can remember, that is our object. So the object is in the last position in both Spanish, German, and English as well. And for Japanese, it is the outlier here. It's got boru, which is ball. That's in the middle of the sentence. So dog ball, I believe oikakete translates to chase or hunt. So dog ball chase. It's a bit silly sounding in English, but that's the way that they that's the way that they structure their sentences over there. So if you talk to them in English and you don't adjust your strategies for that, they're probably going to be way far off from understanding. All right, now I'm going to have you guys try. You can turn to your partner or you can pair off into groups of two. You may choose your own. And then we are going to arrange color-coded sentence cards. These have already been highlighted, subjects, verbs, and objects, aligning with the colors that I've already discussed on the board. And you guys are going to, in your small groups, discuss with your partners why some of these sentence orders may be different than others. It's all going to be the same sentence or the same words, but it's going to be different languages of them. So if you guys can base it off of the sentence structure that you noticed in those, either SVO or OSV, you'll have more success. You'll understand it a little better. Then as a group, once you're done with that discussion, I would like you to fill out this worksheet that I'm going to hand out with your newly created sentences. You're just going to write them in, and in each language. This is before you've checked them, okay? And the object of this paper will be to try and guess the correct order of those subjects, objects, and verbs. Make note that some of these languages have differences between sentence structure as well as word order. And finally, you may use Google Translate to check your answers, but please wait until after you have attempted each question without help at least once. All right, guys, I am going to give you just a few minutes to work on this one. All right. Then we are going to, once we've completed that, thank you guys for working so hard. Now that we've completed our partner-based exercise, I'm going to pass out a fill-in-the-blank exercise. This is just going to be another worksheet for you guys, but it will ask you to fill out a label of either subject, object, or verb beneath an existing sentence on your paper. So this is going to look, I'm just going to explain it to you guys. It's going to look a little weird, but we're going to have four sentences. The English one's going to be on top, Spanish, then we're going to do Japanese, and then we're going to do German. For each of the sentences, they're going to have all four. And you guys are just going to try and use the pattern that you're noticing to make an educated guess. We're going to try and base this exercise off of the position of the words as well as their respective languages. Even if you're not sure about that word, you can still give an educated guess as to the word's type, subject, verb, or object using those pattern recognition skills. And as a result, that's going to help you learn language a little bit faster. All right, now let's get started on that one. Right, and then once we are done with that, oops, that is going to be all that we have for today. But I'm going to ask that you guys partner back up tomorrow. That's going to be, and when we partner back up, we're going to discuss our findings. We're going to compare our answers. So please do not, I'm going to repeat, please do not uh, do Google Translate for this assignment. If you guys didn't finish, you can go ahead and take that home. But if you are done and finished with school or with your work, then you can go ahead and grab your bags and get out of here. Uh, thanks for coming in today, and I hope the presentation on universal grammar was everything you hoped for, you know?